Yes, okay, thank you very much, the technical guys. Good afternoon, you all, for being here in this room. Hopefully, some other people will join us, but maybe they have difficulty to find room 2 in this case. But hopefully, there will be joining other people because I think we have an interesting program for you. We will talk about the beyond compliance, and I think if you were here without the omnibus from several weeks ago, maybe it was a different kind of presentation we would have done, and the CSRD was more expressed than we are going to do now, but I think the storyline is the same. Oh, I am clicking too much, I think. So we'll talk about how can supplier engagement programs help the complete supply chain to evaluate and to inspire each other to become more sustainable, develop more circular products, because that is, of course, the issue which is necessary for us. And you can't do that alone, so you need to do that together with all your partners in the supply chain. And this is, I think, something we want to show today. That's also the reason we have 3 different speakers, which is a perfect lineup because we have the complete supply chain in this case. We have Christina from Odido as an operator. We have Patty from NetSeed as a vendor, and we have Olivier from from the Nexus, from the Nexus as a manufacturer. So we have all the different kinds of the parts of the supply chain to look after, right? How can it help? If an operator starts with their supplier engagement program, asking some frameworks, for example, and how can that help the other parts to develop, to think about sustainability, circularity, and help each other to come further with that. My name is Jeroen Kanselaar. Normally, I have the honor to be managing ESG at Eurofiber. Today, I am presenting also NLconnect, and we have also some slides for that, of course. We are the Dutch sector organization, but at this moment, we don't talk only about the Dutch sector. That is not the objective of today. I think all of the other speakers also, we are global partners in the sustainability journey we are working on at this moment. So yes, it's about NLconnect, but it's not only about the Dutch market in this case. So always logos are always doing very good, of course. So these are all the members, and you see probably logos you recognize from international companies also. If you have any questions afterwards, please come to me or to Mathieu Andriessen. He's the managing director of NLconnect, so he can answer all the questions about NLconnect and being a member and all the opportunities and benefits of that. But I also want to discuss, before we start with the presentations of the separate speakers, about, in this case, the NLconnect Product Category Rules. I mentioned you have to do it together, but it also means you have the same standards, because in case of, for example, Eurofiber, you're also an operator. I want to compare apples with apples, so you need the same standards in this case to discuss about which kind of product is more sustainable or more circular than another product. So that means that you need standards. I'm not going to talk about my complete history, but I have worked about 25 years in sustainability on the building sector. And to be honest, they're much way farther in their journey than we are in the telecom sector. So when I joined Eurofiber 3 years ago, I was surprised that there are no life cycle assessments at that moment. There were no, in this case, product category rules. There is no database with information. And if you look at the building environment, they have a lot more about paint, concrete, all that kind of wooden things, everything. So we started with, together with NLconnect, a project, in this case, the NLconnect Product Category Rules, because I will explain it in the next slide, but you need a standard for the optical fiber sector to calculate your life cycle assessment. I know there are ISO standards for life cycle assessments, but you also need more specific information if you look at the optical sector. And that is what we did in this project. And we developed two types of PCRs in this case. One for active equipment in the optical fiber sector, and the second one is for passive materials in the optical fiber sector. So that means that we have 2 different product category rules. It's always challenging, of course, sustainability world, you all know. So that means also it took a little bit longer than we maybe expected in the beginning, but now I mentioned breaking news. Today is Wednesday, yes, correct. On Monday evening, we got the message, in this case, that our 2 PCRs have been approved by, in this case, the Dutch EPD operator. That means that they are now allowed to use in the Netherlands, but also all the other EPD operators who are aligned and who are member of the ECO platform, the International of European Organization of EPD Operators. Now, that means because the Dutch one has accepted and approved our PCRs, that means that if you make a life cycle assessment using this PCR, you can use it everywhere in Europe. So that is very important for us and very important step. Of course, we want it on global level. You always have to start with ambition, but that is the next step. The first step was get an approval of the PCRs, in this case on European level. So that is what we did. Like I mentioned, took a little bit longer. Now, I'm not going to give a college about life cycle assessment, but you can see you need the PCRs to have a specific calculation methodology for your life cycle assessment, and at the end there is the possibility to make some kind of summary, official summary of your life cycle assessment, which is an EPD. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So that's where the next step in moving to standards in this case. A Dutch thing in this is also that we are now also allowed in the Netherlands. We have, I'm not sure, there are not that many, some Dutch people I recognize, but in the Netherlands we have the National Environmental Database, which means there all the outcomes of life cycle assessments, EPD, are in one national database owned by the government. And if you are going to make a building, you can use the data from the life cycle, from the National Environmental Database to calculate, in this case, for example, the complete carbon emissions of your building you're making. That was only allowed to do that for building materials, and we are the first sector, as an optical fiber sector, to have the allowance to put our EPDs into the National Environmental Database in the Netherlands. So that is a second part, but that's only, to be honest, for the Dutch. It also means that you can, if you are an international company, you still can include your EPDs if you follow the PCRs. You can include your outcomes of the EPD, of the life cycle assessment and EPD, into the Dutch National Environment Database. That's also allowed, but probably only the Dutch operators or the Dutch government will use that. But that's also a very important step for us. Sorry, we changed something. I see. Sorry, in the afterwards, we will have QR codes at the end of the presentation, and then you can also make a screenshot of that, or you can use your phone, and then you can download the PCRs. So we'll show that at the end, and also you can see the internet connection where you can download the complete presentations. That was as an introduction about NLconnect, but also the work we did and the breaking news we had about the approval of our PCRs. Then back to the main topic of this, beyond compliance. Now, I tried to make some overview of all kinds of different regulations and frameworks and initiatives and ranking systems, and probably, if I ask you, then we have 10 or maybe 20 additional frameworks and names on it, but this was what I thought, all right, this is enough, and this is what fits on a slide. But yeah, you see all kinds of reporting initiatives, regulations. Of course, the CSRD is in it, but it's more important that you do your thing. Not only listen to what is the framework saying, what is the European Commission or your own national government saying to do, but it's more important to engage your suppliers. And that is what we want to show. So you have all these kind of things, but how can you use, for example, the ESG ratings in your journey with your suppliers to become more sustainable? And that is what we are going to hear from the other speakers today. So may I ask Christina to start, like I mentioned, as an operator with your presentation about that.
Yes. Thank you. I hope you can hear me. Yes, I think so. Yeah, my name is Christina. I'm a sustainability manager at Odido, and I will give you now a quick overview on our sustainability ambitions and how we work together with our vendors and also with the industry to reach them, especially for the emissions in the value chain. but maybe as the first question, who is Odido? Until a few years ago, we were called T-Mobile Netherlands, which might sound more familiar to some of you. But we were sold by Deutsche Telekom, and we're now an independent, solely Dutch operator. We're one of the big three there. So we're the biggest on mobile B2C, but we also offer fiber through partners like Eurofiber, and we also offer TV. Then the topic of today, our sustainability ambitions. We set SBTi targets, so we want to be net zero in 2028 for Scope 1 and 2, and net zero in Scope 3 in 2040. So how does it look like? This is a very rough overview on Scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. I assume most of you are kind of working in the field of sustainability, or at least familiar with all the terms. If not, if you have a question on any No, then I'll give a quick introduction. So Scope 1 and 2 are the emissions in your own operations. Scope 1, for instance, is our shops and our offices, the gas usage there. We're getting all our shops, we have 120 in the Netherlands, we're getting them off gas with installations, installing heat pumps, for instance, electric air conditioning. We changed our lease fleet to electric, or in the process of doing that. Changing from diesel to biodiesel for generators, for backups, all those kind of topics, improving data center cooling. I see someone, the colleague from analytics, no, almost there. Yeah, so there are lots of different kind of emissions we have, but the bigger parts are in Scope 2, this electricity usage, so it's mostly our mobile network, all the antennas and radios, etc., which are spread all over the country, and also the data centers where the servers for data transmissions sit. So you can imagine reducing those emissions are more difficult because it's a growing business and the need for data will only grow. So here it's mostly about buying renewable energy. We also entered into a PPA agreement. So there are currently 4 new windmolens, wind parks are being built in Zealand. So that's what we're doing on the Scope 2 part. And the biggest part, as you can see, is Scope 3. So that's our value chain, everything, all the products and services we buy, and the products and services we put at our customers' locations. And here you can see a breakdown of those different categories. The biggest category is actually the electricity use of customer premise equipment at customers. So those are the modems, the routers, and the TV set-top boxes. And the next 3 categories is the production of all the electronic equipment we use. So, or sell the smartphones we sell to customers, the CPEs we lease to them, and then the network equipment like the antennas we buy. So this is really the biggest chunk of our emissions, which we also want to reduce to net zero until 2040. But this is not in our own control. We don't make those products, so we don't really have that much leverage on that side. So the only thing we can do is include sustainability criteria in our procurement process, which we are continuously expanding and trying to do better, and also working together with the value chains, with our partners, to let them know how important this is for us, and also work together in industry associations to increase the pressure. Because we as Odido, we're big in the Netherlands, but we're not big on a worldwide scale. But if you then join up forces together with other operators, then you do have quite some influence also on the big names like Ericsson or maybe Cisco or Huawei. But before you can reduce emissions, you need to start with the data collection. And that's where the standards come in again, because as Jeroen said, you want to have comparable data, and you want to have data you can rely on. So if a customer tells me, oh yeah, this is the CO2 footprint for our product, then I want to be sure that this is a correct way of calculating it. Because everybody who's in that field knows there's a lot of variables, there's a lot of ways of doing that. And reporting standards really give you the confidence you want to have to make sure that the data is trustworthy. Maybe a quick introduction into how to calculate those kind of emissions for products. I'll do this quickly, not spend too much time on it, but what you can do is the very simplest way is spend-based. That means, okay, we buy 10 million euros for products from one vendor, and then there's like a conversion rate to calculate emissions behind that. But yeah, the only way to reduce your emissions then is if you don't spend anything, and that's very hard to do. So it's better if you get supplier-specific data. That means a supplier can tell you, oh, on average, per euro, this is the CO2 emissions we emit. That's better data, it's more supplier-specific, but again, it's not very product-specific. And if you choose better products, more sustainable products, you don't see that reflected in your emissions. So the best ways are actually the product-specific calculations, and that's, for instance, where the product category rules come back, because they tell you how exactly or what the guidelines should be to calculate the emissions on a comparable way. So this is what we ask from our vendors. Please tell us what are the CO2 emissions for the products we procure from you. And I believe Olivier and Patty will also talk a bit more about that. Then we also have circularity ambitions. It's a lot more difficult. The whole market is less mature. There are different ways of calculating circularity, looking at circular business models or circular design, etc. So what we said is what we start with, we'll look at all the materials we buy and then try to calculate how much recycled material is already in there or how much biological material is in there. And we look at our outflow. So what happens with products once they leave our operations and how much do we recycle or how much do we reuse and where do we see options to improve even further. And we already have some targets in place and we're already working on topics, and it's mainly focused on electronics, obviously, on e-waste, and also on CPEs, and on working together with our vendors to get better data. And again, NetSeed and Genexus will also talk about their initiatives in that regard and the kind of data they produce, so we can again use them for our Scope 3 calculations. And to end with, I like to set out a call to working together. So NLconnect here is one example where we as ODIDO participate. It started with the definition of the product category rules, but we now also built a sustainability working group where we're all part of and where we regularly meet and also try to find out where can we really work together, where does it make sense to maybe only do best practice, knowledge sharing, but also develop further standards together, improve or align our data collection requests, etc. So this year already on the side of circularity, the three big operators in the Netherlands, together with Olivier, we met and exchanged a lot of ideas and best practices on what we're doing with that regard. And I don't know if any of you joined the session before, but there was the whole topic around that from a competition or anti-competition law perspective. On sustainability, you're allowed to work together even though you're competitors in a country. On that regard, there are almost no restraints, and you're totally free to exchange knowledge on that regard. So I think that's really, really great, and it's really rewarding because often you're the only person as a sustainability manager on one topic. You might be the only person in a company who's really deep diving into that topic, and then suddenly you have the peers who are doing exactly the same. Then we're also part of the Joint Alliance for CSR. That's an international cooperation of the big telecom operators. It was founded by Deutsche Telekom and Orange and I believe Telecom Italia more than 10 years ago. Now that we are in total 30 operators, and what we do is together we conduct social and environmental audits at our suppliers. So mostly factories in Asia. We go there or we ask specialized auditing companies to execute audits there, looking then at working conditions, working hours, health and safety, etc. And then we exchange the results with each other as a way of kind of letting know, okay, this is an important topic to us, and we ask the manufacturers to collaborate here. And that's how we started, but we also have several working groups now on the side of circularity, carbon reduction, and also now due diligence, which is again more focusing on human rights and how to improve the performance there. And there's, for instance, the carbon reduction program, where the big operators, they kind of distributed the vendors and said, okay, we as Deutsche Telekom, we focus now on this vendor, and we as Orange focus on this vendor, and we ODIDO on this. And then we jointly try to reduce the emissions of the products we all buy. And last but not least, GSMA, which probably most of you know, the big trade body for the mobile ecosystem. Also here, lots of initiatives ongoing to jointly reduce emissions and also increase transparency. We're working on the Scope 3, or they are working on the Scope 3 database right now, which also has the idea, okay, if we all use this, buy the same products, then and we're all looking for the same data to calculate the emissions in our value chain, it makes sense to have one database where we all find the same data, which we can share with each other. And I think that's it. Very quick. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? I believe I have 1 minute. And
yeah, 1 minute, so we have some time for questions. Thank you very much, Christina. If there is somebody a question, please raise up, and also the question if you want to use the microphones, because then the other people can also hear you. It's a very smart question, of course.
But I'm also around afterwards if anybody wants to approach me then.
Otherwise, at the end, we can also look after that.
And that's you.
Thank you. Then I will ask, the operator is top of the business supply chain, and now we have, in this case, Patty from NetSeed as the vendor, and also manufacturer, but also as vendor more today. So she will talk about also all the programs and maybe more practical also examples of how they are doing it within NetSeed and with their suppliers to engage them. And so the floor is yours.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Patty van Broekhoven. I'm Sustainability Manager for the NetSeed Group. And NetSeed is a one-stop shop for passive and active components. And we have also a technical expertise and logistic solutions. We are a global player located in 20 countries, of which 11 in Europe. And from the vast majority of the European locations, we have an EcoVadis rating going up to gold medal. So our sustainable roadmap, we have defined 4 of the 70 SDGs. The climate action, I think this is one of the topics that is in almost every country or every company, the top one topic. Obviously also our people, we want to be the supplier of or the employer of choice, so we take good care of our people, and we are working on reducing inequalities within our organization. Also, we work on responsible production and consumption for a sustainable offering. This is something that is more and more key within our industry. Like Christina already mentioned, in tender requirements, there is more and more questions about a sustainable offering. And business ethics, obviously, is one of the topics with our code of conduct at our supplier end. So if we look at these 4 topics within the ESGs, they are all somehow linked to our suppliers. Talking about our own climate impact, at NetSeed we have the vast majority of our impact in Scope 3, which is also not a surprise. We are a vendor, so we are almost not producing products, some small components, but the vast majority of our products we procure. So the impact for our company is mainly in Scope 3. And this is our footprint from 24, and our base year is 22. Compared to 22, we have managed to reduce 52% already for the total scope. In Scope 1, we managed to reduce 5%. In Scope 2, we need to accelerate because we are a little bit behind. And in Scope 3, you can see that for us, you see at the presentation of Christina that it was a little bit more divided in several topics. But for us, it's purchased goods and the use of sold products. And they represent approximately 95% of our scope. And in the goods, purchased goods, we have managed to reduce 22% in 2 years' time and 28% in the use of sold products. So we are well ahead towards our targets, but we still need to push. Like many other companies, we also have our targets set with SBTi, and we will hope that they will be approved during this year. SBTi is quite busy at the moment with all the approvals because more and more SBTi targets are integrated in their platform. For us, it's crucial to reduce our Scope 1 and 2 greenhouse gas emissions by 2035 with 63%. 67% is our target compared to 22 for 35 for the use of sold products and greenhouse gas emissions. And also 67% of our suppliers spend we will try to cover them with science-based targets by 2030. So if we have science-based targets and we ask our suppliers to do the same, automatically our Scope 3 emissions will drop. So how do we do that? We enhance our transparency towards our suppliers. So we share our data. We openly discuss with them what we are aiming for the future. And in that way, we try to convince them also to share data with us. Take climate action. I think for everybody it's clear that we have to partner in that topic because we cannot do that alone. It's on one hand on the material production, the use of virgin plastics, but also, for example, the energy consumption, the waste, the packaging, the transportation, all the topics you can think of. And downstream it's very important to look at the use of sold products. And although we also have a lot of regulations, we feel strongly that if you do this exercise together with your supply chain and you do a deep dive into the common data that you have, that you can introduce a more sustainable offering, but also drive innovation together. So what we have done, this is our supplier engagement program. We have selected 40 of our top suppliers, and they represent 70% of our spend. And we have over 3 pillars done with them engagement program. One of them is due diligence, see if they are willing and open to sign our supplier code of conduct and also respect it. I think this is one of the mandatory fields that we have to tick because it's for us very important that they are in line with our code of conduct. For climate action, as I already told you, we are looking for our suppliers to set SBTi targets. This methodology helps us to have an open discussion on reductions on the greenhouse gas emissions. And also eco-design is very important also for the tender requirements that we have more and more from our operators and our customers. And it can be a material passport or an LCA. So we have done a kickoff session early this year with our suppliers, a webinar telling them what we are aiming for, asking them if they could engage with us to do the same, to share some best practices also. I think this is always very good to share best practices within the field. And after that we had one-on-one discussions with all of these top 40 suppliers to see where they are at today and with what they are aiming for in the future. And also asking them on their eco-design practices. And then shortly after ANGACOM, we will have a new connect with the whole team of suppliers to give them an update, to see how we want to move forward together, but also to share again best practices. And then we will have in the later half of 25, we will reconnect in one-on-ones with the suppliers that perhaps are a little bit less mature, that need a little bit more support in collecting data and also learn a bit about the practices that we are aiming for. And I think it's good to mention that this is a cross-functional effort between the sustainability team and our procurement team. So today, in June, we are at 31% of our suppliers that have approved SBTi targets. 15% is committed. 10% is planning to set SBTi targets. And 11% does not have any plans as of today. So basically, the one-on-one calls that we will be having in the second half of 25 will be with these type of suppliers. And then partnering with our operations, or with our operators, for example, we had a question from Odido, if we could present a more eco-friendly product. This is an example of a duct, and this duct, as already explained by Christina, the inflow of this first duct is from virgin plastics, and at the end of the lifetime, the outflow, it can be recycled. So the total recyclability of this product is 50%. What we have done with our suppliers is we checked if we could also have a recycled content on the inflow. So this means that we don't have primary plastics, but secondary plastics. And then you see that the total result doubles, because at the end of the lifetime, it's also fully recyclable, and then the recyclability goes up to 100%. And in view of transparency, I will be frank with you, it's 99.95% in total circularity, because this eco-duct has still a marking on it, a color marking, and if you want to do a bright color marking with recycled content, that's very difficult. So there is still a small part of the product that is of virgin plastics. So this is an example of a material passport, but we also have a partner with connectors, and they were very engaged with moving forward towards an eco product also. So they have designed a connector made out of recycled content and bioplastics from feedstock. So this is really a good example to see how the industry moves forward towards a more sustainable product. And here you can see that they calculated the greenhouse gas emissions and the CO2 impact. And this is a reduction of 81% compared to the traditional version. And it's very interesting to see that we can close the loop together, because in the LCA process, they used the product category rules in the draft version that was presented by NLconnect. So it's really good to see that within the industry internationally, this has already been picked up as an example. Right in time. Thank you. Any questions for now? If not, it can also be done later, or you can visit our booth.
Perfect practical examples, like you mentioned about the ducts, the eco ducts, and also, of course, the connectors. There must be questions about this. This is amazing what they have done as NetSeed in the supply chain with supporting suppliers, engaging them on sustainability, and the targets about the SBTi to their suppliers. So,
I must say that we were very surprised about the transparency of our suppliers, even within the webinars where they are all together in the room, in virtual room anyway, to share with us data. So we were really surprised, and also to see that there were suppliers, perhaps not the biggest names, already taking good steps moving towards reducing their emissions. So very surprising, yeah.
Yeah, I think that is also one thing, though. A lot is about Scope 3. You have seen that, of course, in the numbers and the graphics of Christina, but also of Patty. So it's all in Scope 3. If you look at it, and mainly the most companies are already doing a lot in Scope 1 and 2, is decarbonization and renewable energy and all that kind of thing. So it will be in Scope 3. And then you see that that's all kind of actions help in this case with life cycle assessment, with circularity, like the connectors you have made. So then that is really making progress in this case. And I think in good suggestion of you, I think, and it's also my personal experience, if you just talk with your suppliers about sustainability, that's an issue. Of course you need procurement, but it's also nice to talk with your supplier. And it's not going about the price or the quality or that kind of thing. But what are you going to do in the coming years? Because it can't be that, for example, NetSeed is the only party who is asking this to you. If you talk with your supplier, there must be other customers asking you for sustainability or circularity. So I think that is a good first one. If you're not doing it at this moment, just go with it. I already did it in my company. just 20 meetings with the 20 most important suppliers, just talk 1 hour about sustainability. What are you going to do? What are we going to do? And how can we help each other? And I think that is the first movement you can make is just the supplier engagement program you mentioned.
Yeah, I fully agree. So.
Still no questions raised? No? All right.
Then
thank you very much, Patty. Then Olivier can go further down in the, or upstream, I would say, in the supply chain. So you will give also some practical examples of how sustainability circularity works, which is the next. So go ahead. I will show.
There we go. All right, thanks. All right, good afternoon. I'm Olivier van Deuren. I'm on behalf of Genexis Sustainability Officer. And I want to introduce you, other than the company, also to which methods we are adopting as a company and how they help us to drive sustainability innovation. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Shortly, this is an introduction slide on our company. We have more than 20 years experience in the broadband industry and headquarters in both the Netherlands and Sweden. Employees, 8 offices, and many more global partners with which we work as a leading CPE vendor. Also interesting to note, by the way, is that we are connected or listed in a sustainability bond on the Nasdaq Stockholm, which also incentivizes us to work on sustainability topics. Then, a little bit about what we do. We sell products, obviously, CPEs, ONTs, fiber termination products, and also routers, modems, which is in the connected home part, and to kind of manage the whole home environment. We also offer connectivity management solutions. So that's kind of what we do. A lot of things in between, of course, but practically what we are working on. So 3 examples from what we are doing at Genexis. We have been adopting some standards and methods across the past years to kind of collect data and to understand what the environmental performance of our products would be. So I'm going to show you these methods, and my main message today would be to adopt these standards, all of you, because that makes everyone's products easier to compare, creates even level playing field. I will talk about product carbon footprint as one, also power consumption as the second, and product circularity as the third, and to show you how we kind of use these methods and together with our suppliers, of course, and our customers, talk about how we can improve those things. All right. Product carbon footprint as the first one. So many of you might be familiar with the GHG protocol, which is like a global recognized method, which we also adopted to calculate our emissions. What we started to do since a few years, when the PCRs were under development with NLconnect, we started to have very elaborate supplier forms, let's say, so like simple Excel sheets, and they kind of provided us for every single product all the data which we needed to perform LCAs for our products. And throughout the years, we actually collected quite a lot of data. And with that data, we could create product passports in a way, which are quite familiar to LCAs, but a very simple step to do that. And by using this method and adopting this very quickly, I think it is doable as a manufacturer, for us at least. We could really quantify the carbon footprint for our products, and we do that, and we can provide all the reports for new products whenever our customers buy them. So there's, upon request, you have all these reports available. They can be assured also by your accountants for yearly reporting in the integrated reports. So it's all valuable for the CSRD as a limited assurance. That's a little bit on that. I think not more to say. The second one is about power consumption. Since 2023, I think we were signing voluntarily the Code of Conduct on energy consumption in broadband equipment, which is like a committee kind of chaired by the Joint Research Center, which is an institute under the European Commission. And they kind of cover the entire network, including OLTs, ONTs, all the CPEs. They have methods available. By using them, you can really calculate your power consumption on the products with all the different interface scenarios, of course. And it really kind of helps us as vendors also to measure according to a standard method. And they have also allowance targets. So every year when they kind of republish this standard, they lower the allowance targets. So for example, in 1 year it will be 5 watts for this typical interface, and then they lower it with 4.7. And collaboratively, together with other industry peers, we decide what that drop should be looking like. But it would help us a lot if our, let's say, if other vendors, but also our customers, the operators, would also really kind of ask for this, because it helps us to profile our products, as I believe they are performing quite well. According to the allowance targets, specifically for these type of products, we performed either 16% or 28% below those allowance targets. And of course, we are very proud of that, but if no one else reports like this, then it would be a shame, of course. But I think there's many companies who are already in this committee, but we start to kind of adopt this standard as an industry. Actually, this method is also one of the it is also integrated in the PCR, which is published by the NLconnect. So by using this calculation method, we kind of have the scenario for our industry. So that's the power consumption part. And then lastly, the third one, the CTI, Circular Transition Indicators. This is a method published by the World Business Council of Sustainable Development. Fourth version, I think it was published in 2023. And with this, actually, we could really quantify our circularity performance. So by means of this method, you could kind of quantify both the circular inflow of your product, so rating, for example, all your materials in your bill of materials with how many recycled materials included, or how many virgin, or how many biological, renewable. And on the other side, you also have a circular outflow percentage. There you have to kind of rate your materials on the circularity, whether it's possible to recycle or reuse the product. And then at the end, it kind of averaged those to one number. So what we did, we have like a calculation sheet, and together with our suppliers, we kind of list all the materials. This is a very short list because that's how we started, because sometimes the material list can be very elaborate, of course, especially if you integrate all the components and so on. But you can start simple. The longer the list, actually, the better, usually the better your score, because you get more insight in what material is coming from what source. So that's how we are currently adopting this standard. And with it, we could kind of express circularity scores. So I think for these products, typically we use 91% recycled plastic, but the PCBA weight is not recycled content. So that brings the circular inflow score a little bit lower, assumably in this case, I think approximately 50 or 60%. On the circular outflow, I think it, because the recovery potential is actually quite high, we have proved also that it's approximately 90%. But since this method kind of requires you to use the actual performance, meaning what's actually being recovered at the end of life, we had to take the European average, which was 12%, averaging out somewhere close to 30%. So actually it's quite an easy tool. Easy to integrate and to start working with. And we also did try already together in the NLconnect and also at European level to kind of advocate for this method. And we see some opportunities on the horizon to kind of join forces and also adopt this to kind of quantify circularity performance in our industry a little bit better. So that's a little bit a short story on how we are adopting standards and how we also urge you now to also start adopting these standards together with us, because then we believe we can accelerate the change and create better sustainable performance in our industry. So it's kind of a call to action. Please do so. If you have any questions about it, please find me on LinkedIn or go to the booth. I'm there today, tomorrow. I'm happy to talk about it. If you have any worries or remarks, please raise them and let's find some industry standards which are easy to use and bring us forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivier. Are there questions at this moment about Olivier or the good work he is doing at, sorry,
I'm hiding.
Hiding, oh yeah. You're scared of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
How do you promote these reductions and this more sustainable product to your customers? Because it's a lot about education. So do you show that on your website? Like, how do you make that more to educate more and to people to understand what that means and that is a more sustainable option, basically?
Could everybody hear or should I shortly? The question, yeah? Okay, I see it. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so how do we kind of educate our customers? Yeah, I think obviously we create these reports already for some time, and we send those reports to our customers. Whenever we start talking about this, I'm talking with quite many sustainability officers from our customers, and with them I'm discussing these numbers, and most of them know what it's about. But if you're talking about, let's say, their procurement colleagues, it becomes a little bit more difficult. But most of the time, yeah, it's just about talking about it and trying to find your peers in the industry. I'm connected to the NLconnect work group and the European equivalent and a few others. And in that way, we kind of start the discussion and find ways to educate our customers and also say, well, please, customer, do adopt this standard, start asking about it, because it helps our industry forward if we have the same questions altogether. But I think there's still work to do. I mean, yeah, we need to kind of get this ball rolling, and hopefully many can adopt later, but yeah.
Yeah, I think a challenge at this moment that maybe not about the marketing side, that's not your question, but you now see that all kind of organizations, now it was meant already by Christina, for example, for the GSMA. I'm also a co-leader for the Green Digital Action program from the International Telecommunication Union. You see all parties are looking for how can we make some kind of database, a global database or a sector database or a European database, if you look at the FCH Council, to have all kind of information available for your customers or for customers in the supply chain. So that is, at this moment, I think the big challenge, which kind of database will give you enough information to know, all right, what are the different sustainabilities of the products, and that is still a challenge, I think.
Yeah, and I think also exploring these methods the last years, we have been doing a lot backstage, kind of, not really putting it in front, telling everyone, and I think maybe we have been a bit shy, but I think now is a good time to start talking about it through social media channels, our website, and perhaps we also need to have some kind of, I don't know, a quick tutorial on how to kind of interpret such a method, how to understand it, and how customers of ours could easily understand the numbers. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. We have, yeah, go ahead, sure.
Karl from Austria. I understand you listed in NASDAQ some green bundle. Isn't it mandatory to have ESG reporting? I mean, we have to do ESG reporting for our bank, more or less, for our credit rating. Is it mandatory if you are listed? I don't think NASDAQ would
I think so. I mean, the sustainability-linked bond on the Nasdaq Stockholm, where we are connected to, we had to set some targets, climate-related, and it's really important to them that we kind of stick to those targets and have progress and achieve those targets. But other than that, I think our company is just too small to really get required a lot of integrated reporting like CSRD, and we are working on it, definitely in a good stage at this moment. But I think it would benefit us a lot if our investors. I would really vote for more targets if I was to talk about the things. Yeah.
The question is, we're talking about environmental impact, which is very important. ESG has also social and governance. Are you have any developed about previous governance about governance impact and KPIs, or more or less environmental?
Yeah, you still see that if you look at ESG, the main topic is still environment, and of course there are possibilities for KPIs related to social of the government's part. Just as a quick answer, if I look at, we also have a sustainable loan at Eurofiber, for example, and the sustainability KPIs are related to our SBTi targets, our approved SBTi target for the environmental part. For the social part is related to the percentages of female management positions in our company, for example, and related to the governance. In our case, it's related to the supplier code of conduct we have, and the percentages of spent, signed, delivered by suppliers who have signed our supplier code of conduct. So that's our, then you have one. Yeah, small. Yeah, we only, but I agree. But for your sustainable loan, to be honest, you also want something that it can be achievable. But that's also an easy one.
And anti-corruption and bribery is also a KPI, which is usually used also by our investor. Yeah. No worries.
Okay. We have time left, so we want to make it a little bit interactive, but I think we have to go quick. We have 5 minutes. All right. Now we will ask you to scan this QR code, and then we can do some interaction because we will have a poll. We can't do all the statements we have. We have 10, but we are prepared for a lot of other things. But
pick the nicest.
We can do some of them. Yeah. Is everybody in the poll? Because then we can start with the first. Yes, I see some. Oh, we're already here. People already voted before the first one. Government should impose stricter regulations to enforce corporate sustainability. What do you think about it? Yes, I agree.
Anyone voting no? Does it work?
Doesn't work. Oh, Christina, you do you check? Yeah, if you vote no. Yeah, it's working. No. So everybody wants. Okay. Of course we. Okay, still the main says yes, it should be. And it's a little bit difficult maybe with the mic maybe, so I will ask here, Patty, what do you think about it? I think, did you convince the the audience that it can also be with your supplier engagement program? What do you think about this statement?
Well, personally, I think it can help to drive if regulations drive corporate sustainability. But I strongly feel that if within the organization there is not an intrinsic motivation to be more sustainable, then you will do it or in a top level or greenwashing level instead of really integrating it within your organization. So I think regulations might help, but really if it's not in your DNA, it's difficult, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Hopefully we also show that.
Can I also comment on this one, or do you want to skip?
And then we have one.
Yeah, I was actually a little bit on the no side. That's why I asked, because I think the regulations are enforced and stricter in the last years, seeing the CSRD, for example. And I think at this moment, at least at this moment, we don't need stricter regulations. We do need alternatives, like the green alternatives. We need innovation. We need investments into more research, different materials, and then that could be a role. Also, governments governments can also have a role there, kind of activating innovation, research, finding new solutions, instead of only focusing on stricter regulations all the time.
Okay. Thank you for that. Then the second statement. Sorry. I think Scope 3 was in a lot SPGI targets approved or committed, and I'm working on this, but this is more challenging. And we don't see, I think we don't see how many people are voting, or do I look wrong way? No. No, I disagree. Well, 50-50, okay. Okay, that's nice. Thank you for the last one. What do you think, Christina, about this? You also have at Odido, of course, SPGI targets.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to say because most Scope 3 targets are until 2040 or 2050, so there's still lots of time to achieve them. So I think it's too early to say if they're unrealistic or not. We're working really hard within the industry to work together with our suppliers to reach that. So I don't see them as unrealistic, but definitely ambitious and a challenge.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. I think it's a little bit early, but yeah, you need your other suppliers in this case, or your supply chain partners. I think we don't have that many time anymore, probably. So maybe it's a good one if you go to the closing. In this case, I think then if you download the slide deck, then you will see the other statement, and you can discuss about it maybe in the office, or otherwise you can contact us, of course. That's also a possibility. Hopefully we made clear that you can use the global standards, or in this case sector standards, which are available. You can use them to inspire and enthusiastic and help your suppliers or other partners in the, also customers of course, in the supply chain to start with innovations, the challenge of sustainability, circularity, and to improve with each other, because the collaboration in the supply chain and maybe also beyond the supply chain is something we need in this case to get further and further. So I want to thank you, all the three speakers, for all the examples you gave, the practices you did, the good work of course you are doing, but also the examples you delivered to us. And I want you, of course, thank you as audience for your interaction on this. I just want to mention this one. Here are the QR codes. If to come to standards, please have a look at this. This is so, and it's showed in the beginning of the slide deck. This is additional to the ISO norms which are available for making life cycle assessment, but is more specific about what is in your calculation and what not. So that is something, I want to express to you, and then I think we also have to show from the organization, the way you can download the complete slide deck. Thank you very much. I hope you will have a very good further day, and tomorrow, it's the end of this ANGACOM. And if you have any questions, please come to us and reach out to us here at the booth. Thank you very much all for being here. Thank you.